Story 1. I know this one, crows. They feel like the obvious sleeper pick since they are everywhere and are extremely observant. Story 2. Dog every time. I don't need intellectual stimulation. I just want to chat with my best friend. Story 3. I love all animals, but the human-dog bond is special. I would love to be able to talk to my dog. I would want to know if anything was wrong and for her to know how much I love her. Story 4. Get pigeons to defecate on people who wronged me. Story 5. I would approach raccoons only to ask whether I could get a hug without them ripping my face off. Story 6. Apparently there are about 8 different groups that have independently evolved into crab-like forms. Why did this happen? Story 7. Horses. I feel they are always compassionate and empathetic. Story 8. Any variety of bird, especially pigeons, sparrows, or crows. These birds possess the knowledge of the flock. Story 9. Sharks. I have some questions for those who have been alive for 400 or more years. Story 10. Katie Sewell, a senior producer and host of the Bittersweet Life podcast, recently met an 8-year-old girl named Gabby Man who has received dozens of shiny gifts from crows over the past 4 years. She shared what she learned about this extraordinary girl and her crow friends with the program The Takeaway. Story 11. It would be interesting to know how aware worms are of anything. Story 12. Elephants. See how good their memories are and what lies behind their graveyards. Story 13. My first answer is my dogs. All dogs, actually. I would tell them every day how much I love them. Story 14. Did anyone see the research showing that plants communicate with one another and with insects and other animals? If we could hear them, plants would be talking to each other and to different insects. I thought it would be interesting to hear them, but then I imagined someone mowing the lawn and hearing small, distressed sounds as the grass is cut, or trees making noise when they are cut down and run through a wood chipper. That seems sad, because researchers increasingly report that plants have complex communication systems similar to those of many animals. Story 15. I want birds to tell seagulls to shut the fuck up in the mornings. I do not mind other birds. Story 16. Dogs are smart and can understand some of our words. My dog is good at showing me what she wants by pointing with her nose or leading me where she wants me to go. I have her pretty well figured out, but I really want to know what is going on in my cat's minds. I would choose cats because they are a mystery. Story 17. I would choose dogs without hesitation. I would want to be able to communicate with my dog and know that he understands that every time I leave the house I will return for him. Story 18. Crows are so clever. I would love to befriend one. Story 19. Crows would make it much easier to form an army if they could communicate. Story 20. I like dogs and crows for the reasons people have already listed. I would like to speak with dolphins so they can tell me all about the ocean. Story 21. Cows are easy. My husband speaks to the cows we meet on our walks, and I wish I could too. Story 22. It is interesting that so many people here think that if an animal can understand them, it will also automatically want to cooperate with them or befriend them. Story 23. I would love to let spiders know we are cool if we just stay out of each other's way. Story 24. I want to know what feral rats are saying. Learn their stealth techniques. Become one with the sewer. Story 25. I want to ask my dogs what they're barking at when they stand in the hall and look toward a dark, empty room. Story 26. Dogs for sure. I see so much emotion in them. Story 27. Assuming I get only one species with which I can converse, I'm sticking with Homo sapiens. That would be by far the most fruitful and beneficial in the long term. Story 28. It would not be cats. You know they would not even bother to listen. Story 29. Humans probably, if I am able to speak with all of them. Story 30. I would choose cats because I would encounter them more often than other animals, but fish or birds would also be interesting for the perspective. Story 31. I would choose ants. They outnumber humans by a large margin. There are many species worldwide. In some regions they form territories and have teamed up with termites, using them as bodyguards and muscle. It is fascinating why ants do this. Story 32. We can already speak to all the animals. They generally don't understand what we are saying. Story 33. Cats are probably the best because they seem smart and know how to get in and out of places. Story 34. I'd love to talk to many animals. My dog before she died, my cats now, especially the one that's old and sick, to better understand their needs. For everyday use, it would have to be spiders. I have arachnophobia, but being able to talk to them and understand them could help a lot. They are everywhere and notice what happens at work and around the neighborhood. They see almost everything. Being completely mosquito-free would be an awesome bonus. Finally, I could tell them to stay away from my bed for their own safety. Story 35. If they're capable of an intelligent response, I could have so much fun fucking with people. Story 36. Being able to talk has already ruined my relationship with my own species. I don't need my dog or cat to talk to me. We get along just fine. Story 37. I already have that ability. They just never speak back in a language I understand. But seriously, cats would be my obvious pick. They are the animals I encounter most in life. I feel it would quickly become annoying if my cat could ask for food at 3 a.m. Story 38. Felines are majestic. They probably would not listen, but at least they would understand me. Story 39. Cats, so I can tell mine to leave me alone when I'm asleep. Story 40. I want to know why my dog behaves the way she does. Story 41. If I could talk to mosquitoes, I could fix all the problems in the world. Story 42. Cats are both sociopaths and procrastinators. They will take over the world tomorrow or the next day. Story 43. Pigeons have seen a lot and dropped much of it on people. Story 44. There is an answer here, and I am not sure which species fits the bill, but there is a balance to achieve between utility. What can these animals do for me? For example, act as spies, retrieve or steal items, perform labor, and so on. Compatibility. Are these animals intelligent? Can they reliably observe or hear and then communicate actionable intelligence? Fly-on-the-wall type activities rather than deep-sea turtles that are unaware of the world. Nuisance. Are these animals friendly? And does their presence create problems such as housing, feeding, or waste? Motivation. Are these animals inclined to cooperate and follow commands? How many do I reasonably need to maintain practical utility, and what compensation do they require, such as food? Story 45. Raccoons. I have many questions, but mostly I want to get to know them. In my mind, they are friendly and calm, and I want to confirm whether that is true. Story 46. I have 3 house cats. I would really love to explain to them that it is much better to vomit on the linoleum than on the carpet. I would also like to ask them what they actually want to eat. Story 47. Cats. My cats cannot talk to me, but I want to be able to talk to them. Story 48. I would convince mosquitoes to attack some awful politicians. Story 49. Would they just converse and maintain their normal personality? Dogs are chill and can be found everywhere in the world. It would be fun and useful as a career. You would be the best veterinarian, groomer, or trainer in the world. What about a species you can talk to that will do your bidding? Spiders. I'm pretty sure I could take over the world with spiders. I would have spies everywhere and an army of assassins, and I would no longer fear spiders. They reproduce quickly and in large numbers, eat anything including each other, and are intelligent. No one wants to deal with an army of different spiders. Story 50. Humans. I assume I now speak every human language. Animal dialects change regionally too. Story 51. I can already speak to animals, but they do not understand me and I do not understand them. If I had the ability to speak to an entire species in one direction, I would choose humans. Story 52. Rats. If I could speak to them, I would probably stop bothering with people. I could have an army of rodent spies. Story 53. My cats have lengthy conversations with me, especially when I get home from work. I would like to know what they are actually saying. Story 54. Dogs. I would quit my job and become a master dog trainer for only the wealthiest people. Story 55. Corvids. Crows, ravens, jays, and magpies. I will rule the world. Story 56. Quantitatively, ants. But even if they could speak, I am not sure there would be much conversation. So I think whales. Story 57. Crows or cats? I choose cats for the same reasons mentioned earlier, and I feel I understand them well enough. Story 58. The funny assumption is that everyone assumes adult human-level intelligence. A monkey is unlikely to have a conversation about port wine or bamboo bedsheets. He would focus on throwing feces at another animal. Dogs would constantly want to play, interrupting work to demand attention. In the spirit of the question, ravens or dolphins would probably be interesting. Story 59. One of my favorite things about pets is that they cannot talk, so I am not sure I would want them to be honest. Maybe a bird. I could probably find a use for that. Story 60. Top 3 choices are crows, ants, and mice. All 3 are numerous and relatively intelligent for their species. Story 61. Personally, I would choose cats. I would love to know what my cats think. Even if I did not, it would still be interesting. Story 62. Cat. I want my beastie to know that I still love him even though I do not let him eat my hair. Story 63. Cats are stealthy and can get almost anywhere without people freaking out. They'd make a great spy network. Story 64. I'd pick Homo sapiens. I would never have a language barrier again. Story 65. Whales know things we still cannot fathom about the ocean. Story 66. I would like to apologize to my cat for being so incompetent. Story 67. I'm not sure I would want this for most animals. Even dolphins would probably just talk about food and mating. Even my beloved cats would probably just say, "I'm hungry" or "want to wrestle?" over and over. No, I think I would have to pick whales. I'm not certain which species yet. Maybe sperm whales, orcas, or humpbacks, but likely one of them. Or possibly orangutans. I bet they would be similar enough to us to understand much of it and still have interesting ideas and conversations. I would say chimpanzees, but I already have an idea of what they would be like. Story 68. Dogs see our habits, moods, and routines every day, and I think they would tell us a lot about ourselves. Story 69. I work in animal care, and the overwhelming majority of my clients have dogs, so being able to speak to them would make my job much easier. Story 70. I have pet chickens and guinea fowl. Guinea fowl are not as naturally friendly toward humans as chickens, so being able to have a conversation with them would be useful. Chickens too, though I am not sure I would want to hear anything from them. Guinea fowl tend to be dominant over the chickens, so speaking with them could help me keep the chickens in line. Story 71. I would choose dogs and pay them the best treats to translate cat and bird languages for me. Story 72. The honey badger. I need to know if they really do not give a shit. Story 73. Does it have to be super specific? Or can I choose like reptiles in general? I would love to be able to understand what snakes and leopard geckos have to say. Even though it looks like there is not a single thought behind their eyes, I am sure there is something. Laughing out loud. Story 74. Humans. If I could pick 2 species, this would be much more interesting. Story 75. If you have patience, you can already communicate with cats and dogs. I find dogs learn human language more readily, and some individuals can learn about 100 words. My last dog could understand room names, for example, go to the kitchen, basic commands such as go, stay, and come, people names like mom, dad, and Jeff, emotions like happy, angry, and sad, and foods like chicken, carrot, and cheese. Grammar was beyond her, and unspecific words such as definite articles had no meaning for her. We could communicate well enough to know we loved each other. She could tell me what she wanted, what she liked or disliked, and how she felt. Story 76. Humans with the ability to communicate with anyone, regardless of language barriers, would be handy. Story 77. I would love to know what my ragdoll cats secretly think. Story 78. I have 3 guinea pigs, and I am often stressed about their health because they hide problems well. I just want to know if they are feeling okay and if they like being petted. I also want to tell them that they are not going to be eaten during their nail trims. Story 79. Cats. I just want to hear their thoughts about people passing in front of them. It would be amusing. I imagine something like, stares blankly, look at that idiot go. Doofus. Story 80 Crows. I would build an army of feathered spies and become the most terrifyingly well-informed gossip in the neighborhood. Story 81. I have to choose dogs because I am scared of them. If I could tell dogs that I am just walking by, that I will stay on the sidewalk and leave their territory alone, and they understood me, my life would be much easier. I am really a cat person and would love to talk to cats, but talking to dogs would have a bigger positive impact on my life. Story 82. Crows or perhaps cows. I love their big, mellow, soft faces and I think we could be friends. Story 83. Crows are everywhere. They remember faces and hold grudges. I would run the world's largest spy network in exchange for peanuts and shiny objects. Story 84. Probably dogs, just to choose the easy, useful, non-evil option. But there is something to be said for the archvillain route. In that case, ants. If I could choke down the immorality of theft, ants would be a very easy way to live the high life without ever working another day. Story 85. Perhaps birds. They fill the sky and I can gain much information by communicating with them. Story 86. Life would be pretty difficult if I had chosen something other than humans. Story 87. I want to talk to my own dog. I already do, but I want her true answers, not the ones my husband or I made up. Story 88. Dogs. I am starting a therapy practice and charging humans. Story 89. Mice. I will make a deal. I will build you a lovely house with unlimited food if you stay out of my home. Story 90. Rats. They're everywhere, very smart, and domesticated rats are playful and affectionate. Wild rats could rule the world if they wanted. There is no hiding from rats, and I would learn many state secrets. We'd plan heists and occasionally carry out some vigilantism. It would be perfectly chaotic. Story 91. I would prefer cats because I have a cat and she is very smart. Smarter than I am. I could get advice from her. It would be very interesting to hear about the problems and anxieties of the pet I have at home. This is a skill I dream of having. Story 92. Snakes represent ancient wisdom. Dogs represent pure loyalty and honesty. Story 93. Mice. With how quickly they reproduce and how effectively they sneak into places, they could probably take over the world. Story 94. Skunks seem like they'd be interesting to talk to. Story 95. Dogs, hands down. I'm not going to get rich talking to animals. I'd more than likely be committed. I'd take being able to talk to my best friends if only to explain that. No, the thunder will not hurt them, nor will the 10-pound dog on the other side of the fence. I would also tell my other dog that a pink Barbie toy car is not going to kill him. Story 96. Dogs without a doubt. My best friend and I do not understand a single word the other says. Story 97. Dogs. No question. My best buddy and I would have so much fun. Story 98. Dogs. All day long. Oh, goodbye, humanity. You fucking sack of shit species. Story 99. Dogs. I would ask my dog what I can do to make him happier. I owe that dog everything. Story 100. I speak to animals every day. I talk to squirrels, ants, birds, and other creatures. My dogs sometimes understand me. Story 101. Una puta pantera. Solo iría una vez al zoo y, por sorpresa, le diría cualquier chorrada. Luego me iría y no volvería en mucho tiempo a ver qué cojones me dice cuando vuelva. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.